say, then you know you're underway. And I just got my intro. Hi, I'm Mike Blinder. I'm publisher of E&P Magazine. If you don't know who the heck we are, we started in 1884, and I wasn't around then, but it was the editor and publisher, the original name of what Wikipedia calls the Bible of the newspaper industry. Today, we're a heck of a lot more. E&P serves what we like to say three bullets for our target audience: those that must craft journalistic content, those that must find an audience for that content, and those that must monetize that audience in a myriad of different ways. That's why we're now seen daily online by over 40,000 news media executives. Our email database is over 32,000. And today we have over 200 registered for one of my favorite topics, because just about every other darn story we report on at E&P has something to do with AI. And a partner who's been with us for over 2 years now is Nota, a very innovative company that has broken ground in assisting newsrooms in just doing a better job. We're going to get to the topics and the discussion in just a moment, but first, if I may take some time to do brief housekeeping. There's a problem in Zoom, in my humble opinion. We're going to stay in the chat room only. You could try to raise your hand. I'm not sure what to do once we see the hand raised. You can try to go into Q&A, but we would like to keep our eyes on the chat room. And the challenge is, whenever you go to chat and you click on it, it defaults to host and panelist only. That means your chat, your comment you type will only go to me and my two distinguished panelists. We don't want that. We want you to change that to everyone, because I think the chat room should be a separate conversation. If you don't like what we're saying, say it. You got a better idea, put it there. Most importantly, if you got a question that you want to talk about, or you want us to expound on something, and please, I always stress this because I'm an old guy that maybe is the slowest in the bunch today. But if something you don't get, if an acronym is used or something is going too quick, slow us down. Our mission at E&P is to truly be an informational source. And I want this to be a tool, not an advertisement. I want you to get what you can out of this discussion, which is basically, I love the way these slides came from Tao, and I'm going to introduce him in a moment, but basically you boiled it all down. Can you publish better with AI? Do it legitimately, do it properly, still maintain your brand's integrity, and win the battle of sustainable news publishing. My two distinguished guests come from the company Nota. They're both kind of brand new. I want to first introduce Allison. She's with us today on screen, but she'll be living in the chat room. Allison, you and I have become kind of best friends, because Josh, who's been on this platform a number of times, the founder of Nota, Josh Brando, has kind of said to me, you got to talk to Allison. She has a new title. You were just hired the last few months ago, a VP of Customer Success. Allison, I went to AI to ask who the heck you were, and this is what it came up with. You tell me if it did a good job. You bring more than a decade of experience in customer experience and operations leadership. You've been with world-class technology companies, including Salesforce, Diligent, Hewlett-Packard. Most recently, you served as Vice President of Customer Marketing and Experience at Diligent Corporation. Good or bad? Did that come through okay? You have to unmute yourself.
I've never looked myself up on AI, but that's about it. And I'm here, so I work in transformation. I think a lot about new technologies and how to implement them across teams of different levels of familiarity with those things. I will be here in the chat supporting Tao, star of the show, to answer any questions that you have and make sure that we connect with you appropriately after this 45 minutes or so that we have together.
First of all, I am amazed that you haven't done what most people do, is go to AI and ask about yourself. That means you are extremely modest. B, I have to ask the most important question. We're broadcasting today live, and many people go to the recording of these things years later, but December 4th, 2025, we're now hit with cold and snow. It's the big story today. Did you change your LinkedIn picture to be in the snow background just for today, or is that always the picture you
I would like to say I did. No, I didn't.
Because we're going to go now from
the season, though.
We're going to go from a snowy background to a blurred background, which is classy people from Google do. Anntao Diaz, but we like you. You prefer Tao, is that correct, sir?
That's exactly it. It's just simpler.
Now there you go. Right, once you hear his voice, you have a French heritage. But can I? I'm going to give you the AI view, but then I want you to kind of bring that home as we introduce you, because you're going to
I'm really worried right now, but go ahead. What
You
did
bring
Google say?
15 years of experience from career at Google, where you focused on leveraging data and AI to support the global news and publishing industry. Most recently, you served as head of news data products and programs for the GNI Google News Initiative, which for a while was being run one of my closest friends in the industry, a friend of E&P, and I've known for 20 years, Ben Shaw. I understand you know Ben. Is that correct?
Completely. Ben is amazing.
And he's been on this platform. We've had him on the show. In that role, you led teams behind data solutions such as news consumer insights, real-time content insights, enabling publishers worldwide to expand their audience and digital revenue. What I love about your background and why you're the star today is even though you were at big tech, you were focusing on news publishing. That is where your I guess say your soul is. Am I correct, sir?
You are 100% correct. I joined Google 15 years ago because I was, and I am still in love with the open web. And through those 15 years, I discovered news because, I mean, obviously I had newspapers at home, but no one in my family ever worked in news. And that's what I decided to focus on.
All right. So I'm going to have you kick it off first. And these are your slides. I'm running the show here for now. So
Yep.
tell me if I hit them right. But I asked you to first tee this up. Before we get into the nuts and bolts, and I promise this audience, you're going to get a real time demo of how you can really be efficient using AI, hopefully the way you want to in the markets you serve. But first, I'd like to go to 50,000 feet if I may, with you. What does this all mean? Where are we at today after with your years in tech and helping us become more efficient in news publishing? And as I said, the three bullets are craft journalism, find that audience, monetize it. Would you just give us an overview of the state of the news publishing industry today, sir?
Yes. I think it would be very untransparent or just not fair of me not to address the anxiety because I think, very much like I'm a recent dad and I go from very happy to very anxious throughout the day about 100 times and I think there's a direct analogy here with AI across newsroom and to be honest across every single industry today, which is AI as a topic drive anxiety. And what this clumsy slide tries to represent is what's behind that anxiety. And that's why I wanted to talk about, because I really think we need to address the core of the topic, right? So when we talk about the AI and what's coming in the years to come, in the short and midterm, right? I think there's a few topics that always come across or keep coming back, which is, for example, the AI slop, right? The fact that the web is being flooded with AI-driven content, essentially because what you see on the bottom left of the slide, content production costs are just reaching zero, right? You can create videos, audio, images, and text today, essentially just with a few simple clicks. And from a more content distribution side of things, the Google zero clicks, right, is what everyone keeps talking about, which to a certain degree is just an amplification of this walled garden idea. The fact that every single tech company out there is going to try to lock users on, focus on retention, and let's say that the inherent contract of the open web, which is, you crawl our content and we send you click, that's going to fully disappear. So this whole picture essentially paints a pretty dramatic scenario of content production costs crash. There's more competition, right? You're still addressing the same amount of users who have the same amount of hours during the day to read content. So more competition equals less reach equals less revenue. And that's why I want to start off, because even though it's not necessarily a happy picture, because I believe, and again, that's my opinion, that this is a very over dramatic simplification. I don't think I'm not one, I'm a pretty optimistic person by default, and I don't have a magic ball. So what you'll hear from now is more my interpretation. Before I left Google in my last year, I remember asking a very senior VP, where is this going? What's going to happen with the open web? Because I was generally concerned because, again, I joined Google because of the open web. And for the first time in history, I got the answer, no idea. We'll have to figure it out as it comes. So when I think the what AI does, right, is that it highlights and underlines a problem that or situation that has been going on since the beginning of the digital age. AI is just accelerating how deep we feel that issue as opposed to creating it from scratch. And this is what you see here, which is what I call the structural bottleneck. And I'm going to split it into, on one side, we have content creation. On the other side, we have content distribution. I could have continued this slide with the rest of the equation, which is you create content, you distribute content, it creates visits. Those users spend time on your site. That's user engagement, which in turn creates revenue. So let's focus on the left side of things, right? On the content creation side of things, the friction is primarily on the difficulty and the challenge, and essentially the lack of efficiencies in turning every single piece of, let's call it raw content that newsroom have into a draft. That could be, going through hours of video to create an article, taking notes and taking that to a clean state, rewriting press releases, rewriting wire service articles, etc., etc. That in itself increases the time to market, to use more of an economic term, of taking an idea to the web, right, to your readers. And unfortunately, as soon as you've done with that, creating a piece of content that is ready to go, then you need to figure out the distribution. And today, when you look at the requirements of every single network, whatever that is, SEO assets, meta description, SEO title, a slug, on the TikTok, Instagram side of things, creating vertical videos or turning your text into vertical videos. All of that, right, has implications on your ability to effectively reach your users. So your go-to-market strategy is also impacting all of this and limiting your ability to take the amazing content that you're creating out there and reach your users at the right time. This is summarized, or I summarize it very humbly, as the low velocity publication engine. And I believe AI really stresses the situation as opposed to creating it from scratch, sorry. And it has massive implications on your ability to reach, and implication to set your authority on a given topic in a specific audience.
And it seems to me that low velocity is not good, right? I mean, when it all boils down, we, we kicked this thing off, we publicized it. And I love the word when Allison and I were first meeting and doing the strategy before we brought you in, because I always talk to her about the audience and who consumes our content and how we have to meet them. She used the word cadence.
Right.
In other words, and then I did the research and I looked at our reporting, and it seems to prove that its quantity is killer. It doesn't mean you have to do a lot of bad news, but low velocity is bad. Am I right? I mean, and
It is.
you're going to address that, correct? Before we talk about increasing it. Is that
It
right?
is. Because I want to do a demo and show you some cool things. I try to keep this presentation short, but here's an invitation for the rest of the audience. The Google News Initiative across the last, I believe, almost 10 years now, has spent hundreds of millions of dollars to try to answer that question. What are the key, let's call them KPIs, metric, that can indicate sustainability, growth? And that is all packaged. You'll find it online into what we call the local experiments, which I've worked on in the past. Under the local experiments, I'm going to give you one point of data. One of those local experiments concluded that a good publication frequency to ensure growth for a local news outlet is 15 stories per day
There
that
you
need
go.
to be published.
according to Google and all the data that you, I mean, because what was it, Drucker who said if you can't put a number to it, and I'm paraphrasing Peter Drucker, the great the economist, you can't put a number to it, you can't manage it, you can't measure it, you must have a goal. And Google basically came out with a number that if your brand, your news brand, is not generating 15 different pieces of content a day, you're not in the right lane towards this cadence. And that's what precipitated this webinar. So take us, let's become offense. Let's get on the offense, if I may, and bring this whole thing home for us, if I don't mind. Go ahead, sir.
No, completely. And again, don't take the 15 number as a, as the law, right? It's very specific to every organization. I think at the end, what AI is and what AI does is AI is a tool. And I strongly believe, and we strongly believe sorry, at Nota, that that specific tool will allow you to address what you saw on the previous slide, which is the bottleneck, right? In an era of digital noise, let's call it like that, right? Where we're being flooded with content, originality, the fact that every single one of you has content that no one else has because you are on the ground, because you're creating from scratch things that do not exist online or offline. That is the ultimate value. That is what we call digital gold these days. And I mean, you can see it on the slide. We think you already own the bank. That is your true asset for tomorrow. So how to address the threats that were linked in the anxiety slide? You face more competition. The goal is, or the solution is, to publish more and better content. Now, don't take out words from that sentence. It's not just more, it's better as well. More content does not lead to
Yeah, but
better
you got
results.
people in the chat room freaking out now. I know that Allison's watching it and she's because by the way, the chat room is open. Yell at us. Get it, but make sure you do it to everyone because some of you are just yelling at Allison and Tao and me. But these are great questions. You got some people here saying 15, way crazy. I'm just a guy on my own. One saying I'm a non-daily magazine, like me. By the way, E&P publishes about 18 different pieces of content every day.
Mhm.
I mean, we do. And we have a hugely engaged audience for it and a large database as what you would call a magazine. So again, but we have email sends and newsletters. So I want the minds to open up here. Go ahead, Tao. I interrupted you. Please.
No, no, completely. Take it as a reference point, right? It is extremely high, but I mean, if we look at the last 10 years, and I'll be dramatic here, but you know the amount of newsroom outlets that I used to work with directly and that have closed doors since then. There is an endemic issue that otherwise wouldn't be talking about news deserts across the web and in the US particularly, right? So I'm gonna get to hopefully a solution or start of a solution, but the answer to noise is not silence. It's around making sure the best content coming from you and your newsroom is available out there. Less reach, Google is giving you issues, become omnichannel. Most newsrooms that I've worked with across the last 15 years, right, tend to do Google, Facebook, and because of low resources, because it's extremely hard, maybe on Instagram, maybe a YouTube, right? We need to adopt a full omnichannel strategy to make sure we increase the potential of the reach of our stories. And finally, less engagement, and that's a whole other topics, right? But it's around catering everything towards your loyal audience and not your casual readers. I'll go into more details because that's what Nota tries to address with our
All right,
solution.
so let's you. This is your commercial,
Yeah.
because you help E&P. You're what we call you a marketing partner. You support our mission. You're now allowed to sell. Tell us what Nota does, and give us the elevator pitch, as we like to say, sir.
So at Nota, we have a proprietary LLM. So we've built our own model. It's called Polaris. And essentially, the decision on your end, and I see a lot of questions in the chat that kind of refer to that, is are you looking to accelerate with AI or transform with AI? We address both. So we have tools for content creation and content distribution, again, that are meant to empower you if you're a single journalist, or your newsroom if you have more people in there. I'm not going to talk about every single one of them because I'm about to do a demo. We also have tools for the transformation side of things. On the transformation side of things, we have Distro and Nota News. Distro is, in a nutshell, an automation, an agentic experience where, for example, you can tell our agent, every time you see a video on this topic, I want you to create, 2 drafts for me to review, and once it's reviewed, send to social channels, for example, to Instagram and Facebook. That is Distro. Nota News is more of a brain. You tell Nota News what you care about. So these are, for example, I live in Somerville, Massachusetts. This is a topic that's important to me, my town, and what's happening in my town. Nota News will essentially connect to all of the external unstructured sources of data, whether they're private or public, and position them in front of you so your newsroom can act on it. So essentially, it's kind of a data digger that allows you to accelerate your operation based on what's being trending.
And once again, we're in the chat room, and yes, you have ignited some dialogue here. I want to answer some of the questions, but I mean, Allison's in there, churning away, but let's get to a demo now. Give me an example of how a newsroom that maybe like we only really do one piece of enterprise journalism a day. You follow? But I still put out, I put out opinion pieces. I do meeting notes from associations. I put out press releases. You see where I'm going?
Completely.
Give me an example of how a very small newsroom could create good hyperlocal content. How you'd say accelerate, right? And get that cadence going cost effectively without going broke. Go ahead.
Okay, so I hope you're seeing my screen. So I'll do a demo, and I'm going to pray to the gods of the web that my Wi-Fi holds. For the demo itself, because I know there's a lot of you from different backgrounds, I know we have a few broadcasters and local news and a single person operation. I'm going to try to do a few, maybe a use case that kind of addresses it all. So you are looking at, so this is Nota, this is our dashboard. I'm going to switch to live view because that tends to work better in webinars. Let me know if it's too small. I can zoom in a little bit more. So as I mentioned, I live in Somerville, Massachusetts. That's north of Boston. And I'm going to assume for the purpose of this demo that I'm a journalist that works in the local newspaper in Somerville, Massachusetts. So Somerville, Massachusetts, like every single town in the US and across the world, has meetings, board meetings, special committees, more things that are happening that are relevant to the community, right? So typically where I live, we have rat issues, we have rodent issues. And I'm on the website of my city. You can see there was a committee about the rat issues. So I'm gonna run it here.
RAT rat issues?
Yes, rats.
Okay, go ahead.
RAT. Yeah,
I had no idea Somerville was rodent infested, but go ahead. Thank you. The Chamber of Commerce may sue you for this, but go ahead, sir. I mean,
me neither before I moved there. And I come from New York. So anyway,
all right.
so essentially what I have here is a lot of raw inputs. I have a very long video where they're doing a zoom and going through a lot of information. I have access to the PDF that was presented during the meeting. Let me see if I can open it here. There it is. And I don't have access to the content,
Sorry.
right?
Go ahead.
It is what it is. And this is actually from 3 days ago. So what can I do with this? And I'm going to try to take this from raw input to a draft ready for me to review and add upon.
This is actually, I gotta interject to our audience.
Yeah.
This is a PowerPoint from the health manager of the city. You can see him, there he is taking credit for it, where he put up rat on, I mean, he's playing on PowerPoint just like your kids do for school. This is brilliant. Go ahead. And you have access to it. You just download the damn thing. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's all public information at this point. Okay, so I'm going to use our first tool, which is called Clip. And a clip essentially allows me to take any type of video content. So this could have been a live stream, live stream of the meeting. I'm going to use a file because I already uploaded it, so an MP4. It could have been sports. It could have been any single topic. I've already uploaded it just in case that you
You
don't
got
want to
the
do it.
MP4 file from the
Yeah.
meeting,
Yeah, it was as
which is
simple as
public
that.
domain. It's public knowledge. It's out there, so you legally
Yeah.
can can go get it. Okay.
And you should find that across every
And
single
this city didn't
browser.
give you a transcript of it. They just gave you the video, correct?
No, I only have the video. So
Okay, go
that's
ahead.
what I'm going to use. I uploaded it. So in clip, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a project. I'm going to call it Somerville Rats. And I'm going to say, so this is going to create smaller clips that are relevant to me, right? Because I want to be able to digest it all. I'm going to create 30 seconds clip. And the only thing remaining is to define what am I interested in? What am I searching for? So I'll give a simple example. If this was a football game, I'd be looking for touchdown or quarterback sacks. I know very little about football, so you'll have to be patient with me. But essentially, it's what am I looking for within the raw data? So I'm looking for rats for sure, but also because I know a little bit about the topic, I'm looking for trash because the problem with rats in my town is due to trash. So I've selected my topics. I'm going to select my source. This is my video that I've already uploaded before the webinar, and I'm going to save. Now I have a project here, Somerville Rats. You can see there's 2 topics. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to give it a second because it's currently processing, but there's already a few things that I can do. So I can watch the video that I uploaded, and you can see if I do this, if I go to the end of the video, what I'm getting here is the transcript. So I'm going to download that transcript.
All right.
There's a few things I can do.
Okay, I have a transcript program that I pay for. After I do this interview, I'm going to use it to create, because I have to create an article about this show for you, which will be done within 2 hours. That's how we send the link out. Is that transcript that you just generated accurate, or does it have to be cleaned up? How good is your tool on creating that?
It's extremely accurate. So far, with every LLM, right, there's these expectations that you'll have hallucination and that things will be wrong. Our hallucination rate is below 2%.
Wow.
So we never had any complaints about it. Let's say it like this, in terms of accuracy. So what you're seeing here, you might have seen it popped up. The tool, the LLM has processed the transcript, the video, and focus on the topics that I'm interested in, which are rats and trash. And it's organizing 30 seconds clip maximum. So I have a 28-second clip here. I have a 28-second clip here on the topics that I'm looking for and organized by relevancy. So this one on trash is probably the 28 seconds clip that I care the most about. So I'm going to click on it. I'm not going to watch it because of, I'm going to kill the sound and I'm going to click play. And click play. There you go. So this is a section of the 40 minutes long meeting that talks specifically about trash. And you can see what it's doing here is that it's actually analyzing, is it a problem with commercial trash or residential trash? Here, I have a pretty cool clip, a 20-second clip that I can do tons of things about. I have the actual transcript of that clip. So I'm going to save it because there's definitely a few things I can do. Now that I've saved it, it appears here. And again, from here, sky is the limit. I could export this as an MP4, publish it on social media as is with a social caption. I want to take this to another level. So as I've mentioned, I already have the transcript. I'm going to leave this aside because I could continue working with video. And I'm going to go to a place that I imagine is more, or at least people will identify with. I'm going to go to my CMS. So this is WordPress. I could have used Blogs, Creative Circle, Arc. We are integrated with all major CMSs. In this case, because I have access to it, I'm going to use WordPress. And my purpose is, well, I have a video, I have content, right? I have the PDF, that I've downloaded. I have the transcript as a file. So I'm gonna try to create an article from there. So I'm gonna go to Nota, which is here, and let me know if it's too small. I can always zoom in. This is draft. As the name implies, it creates draft articles. It doesn't create a finished product. It creates a draft for a human to continue to work on. So I'm going to add a document. I'm going to upload. So this is my transcript, right? Everything that was discussed during those 40 minutes, the whole conversation that happened in that meeting. I think I'm also going to add the PDF file.
I would add the
presentation.
PDF. There's your graphics.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
Let's do that. So you can see it here. So this is the PDF. When you upload PDF and they're turned into text, they always look kind of weird. It's super hard to process. And this is the actual transcript, every single thing that was discussed. And then I'm going to click on generate. And this is we're gonna be a little bit patient, but what the LLM is going to do, so Polaris, our proprietary LLM, is take those two sources and apply the journalism standards that it has been trained on to create a draft article, inverted pyramid, AP style.
So the difference that Nota has over ChatGPT is it's a journalism tool for journalists. I mean, AP style book, snarky, I say that sometimes because everything I do gets looked at through a tool that our editors use to make sure I'm AP. I once actually said first annual and submitted that to my editorial team and they laughed at me because there's no such thing as, never mind, I could go. This is using those standards. Am I right, Tal?
That's exactly it.
Okay,
right?
Go ahead.
And if you go into the details, like you might feel with commodity LLMs, right, whether it's GPT or Gemini or the others, that you're getting, for example, a copy that doesn't have hallucination, right? But sometimes, the issues are less about hallucination and more about editorialization, right? So
Okay.
modifying the copy so it feels real, but it's not. And again, I think the purpose is LLM was built for this industry, for story creation. We have very strong standards in responsible AI. We also have a lot of collaboration with this industry specifically. So Polaris does create that inverted pyramid. You have it here. So the draft finished, and you can see, I could go through it and read it. Right, so the city of Somerville wrote into special committee, held its final meeting of the year, etc., etc. There you go. Additionally, the committee noted a decrease in 311 complaints. That's great. There's less complaints apparently. And that's I'm not going to read it all, just in the interest
I get it.
time. I'm just going to zoom out. There's an important button here, which is the preview edit, which allows me to see the structure that was applied to the story itself, right? Now, most journalists don't operate in a vacuum, right? When you create a story, typically about the rat issues in my town, chances are you know a little bit about that topic because you've covered it throughout the years or since last year. So within the tool, you can create this button, which is called Enhance. And Enhance, let me zoom in again. Okay. Enhance is looking at my archives. Essentially, it's looking at past content that I've created, right, on that specific topic. So this is the process in the AI world, which is called RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation. Essentially, what it will do, or what I can do with these stories, I can select this one, which is called Somerville's Rat Problem Under Control with Innovative Pest Management. It's actually from 2024. Right, so I can give it as context to the story that I just created,
Oh
a
my
past
God.
story.
It found this story as a related story.
Right. And then I can enhance, right? So to make sure, again, that what I'm creating, the draft I'm creating, has as much context as it can. So I'm going to let it finish. And once that's done, from a creation perspective, I'm in a good place to continue applying my own human knowledge, right? So I might want to modify this story and more. We're gonna give it Give it a second.
Are you going to give it some images? It looked pretty dull just as words.
I'm gonna give it an image in a second.
We just had on my show people from this, an entire thing from the National Press Photographers Association, how graphics sell news. I mean, you can't just do words, right? You got to have some compelling graphics in there.
It is. In this case, I think I'm only going to use a rat image because I opted in for simplicity, but you do
That's
make
okay.
a
No, no,
great
no.
point.
I mean, there's nothing. We all have access to our clip arts and our Shutterstocks and all that other stuff. So go ahead. So let me see what you got.
Okay, so again, my story was created. Let's send it to draft.
And this is
And now
429 words, which is pretty good.
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And now for those who are familiar with WordPress, I mean, it kind of looks the same in every other CMS. I am now in the editing side of things on WordPress. And you can see I have my story that's been loaded. I don't have a title. I'm missing quite a few things from, we get to the second topic, a distribution perspective.
Okay.
Now I've created a great
Lots of
platform.
questions about that in chat. And Allison, by the way, is doing an amazing job in there,
Thank you, Alison.
responding directly to individuals or to the group. If you ask the question just to the panelists, you're going to get a response back from us. If you ask to the entire audience, you're going to get a response that everybody shares. I suggest the latter. Go ahead, Tao.
Well, I hope I can't see the questions, but I hope the questions are not, I can't
No,
understand.
they're amazing.
French
Everybody's
guy
getting it.
saying,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so of course I'm omitting the part where, as a journalist, I would add, I would amplify this story with my own knowledge and creative skills, just because I'm not a journalist, so I'm not gonna insult you all by trying to replicate that. So let's assume the story is finished. The second question becomes, I want to maximize my chances to reach my audience. We get to the distribution side of things. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to zoom in a bit more again. My apologies. I know this is very small. And you can see here, right, again, on WordPress, it's below the article. It says, welcome to Nota, analyze the page. So I'm going to analyze this page. And I see 3 tabs, content, SEO, and social. Let's look at content. I'm being offered 3 different headlines. So Polaris analyzed the content of the story and is giving me 3 choices of headlines for my story. So I'm going to choose this one, for lack of a better one. It's offering me an excerpt, which is more of a little summary in WordPress. It's not relevant to every single CMS. I can add tags, so it created specific tags out of the story that will allow me later on to potentially find that story. I can use quotes.
There's
Again,
the pull quotes. I am a big believer in pull quotes and pictures.
yes.
My engagement, when I start, I always, they call me the face guy at E&P. Every story has a face with a pull quote, because to me that's because the face sells. So you already pull relevant quotes automatically to make that even easier.
That's exactly it. And in the world of AI citations, quotes are going to be extremely important. So yes, you do well in using quotes.
Yeah.
But essentially, what I've done here, right, is I've applied a few things. So you saw me select items. What I didn't show you, of course, is since I have a headline, now it populated the headline. I chose an excerpt, which appears always here in WordPress, and more. Let's look at SEO for a second. If I look at SEO, it's the same logic, right? An SEO title is not necessarily the same thing as a headline. So I'm going to choose an SEO title. I'm going to choose slugs, which are very important, right? How is your URL structured? A meta description, again, very important. I see here the keywords that were selected, right, throughout the story. And
Hormonal birth control. I'm sorry.
it's a weird story about rats and how they reproduce, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, so you can see rodent fertility actually. So we give you an analysis of the trend of those keywords, right? It's important to know, are people actually interested in this topic? It turns out, and this will be recorded, so for posterity, rodent fertility is a peak keyword right now on December 4th, for whatever reason, right?
I knew that. No, I did not. I'm sorry. This is
Um,
this is fascinating. Just unbelievable. Go ahead.
So
Yeah.
I'm done from an SEO perspective. That's all I need to do. I want to show you one thing that I haven't mentioned. I started this conversation with AI slop, right? The fact that if we all put our content into a commodity LLM, chances are we're all going to sound the same. Let me show you what I mean exactly by that. When I click on social, we give you social captions as well for distribution. And you can see here, there is a Instagram social caption. But that's not me. That's not how Anntao talks on Instagram. And that to me is extremely important because my voice is who I am and it's what makes me different from the slop and from everyone else. So you can see here it says Anntao, right? Now this should probably be your brand or the name of your website. I'm using this for the demo. So on Instagram, I'm gonna click this little microphone here and I'm gonna choose Anntao. Essentially, I'm saying it, use my voice or my tone to be exact, right? And it's going to recreate that specific caption with my tone.
How does it know your tone?
Because within Nota, one of the first things we do when you start working with us is we train our tool to replicate your tone how you desire. You could say, I have a tone per content category. I have a tone for a given journalist or for me, right? Or actually, it's a brand tone, right? For the whole company or for the whole brand. You define where the limits, the guardrails, and what the parameters that we should use are, essentially.
Um,
And you can see it's marked here. So I've made sure to not use any tone throughout the thing because I wanted to show you to you at the end, but I could have done that across the board to make sure every single draft, every single output that I create for a journalist to work upon and improve is also aligned with what you expect and how you talk.
so basically, the newsroom of the future, or let me change that, the newsroom of today, can fix that void that has become the big issue. In the old days, when I managed an AM radio station in the 80s in Ithaca, New York, I don't know if you ever heard of the damn town, but I was managing, I had a news team at an AM radio station of 7. We had a lot of kids from the college working for us. When we covered a school board meeting, there were 5 or 6 different media reporters there. Some came down from Syracuse. Those days are gone. Do you follow? No one can afford to cover every school board, every city council meeting, every. This could be the way that we increase our cadence of content that's relevant to our community and doing it much more effective. I mean, basically, this could be a 15-minute journey or maybe even less. How long would it take to someone who gets used to the tool to get that video from the city council meeting or get that recording or whatever, or the transcript, and then create a good piece of journalism? That's my question.
I mean, you're missing, I'm missing one parameter, which is how much work the journalist wants to add on top of it. But in theory, a few minutes, it's as fast as that, right? And obviously, it depends on the topic and depends on the complexity on the story. Imagine the amount of content as well that everything that needs to be rewritten or that you're publishing as such. For example, back to the publication frequency, I remember discussing with a local newsroom not too long ago, and I was saying, 15 tends to be a good reference point. And the answer was, well, we publish 100 stories a day. And I said, 100 stories a day? How do you get there? And when we looked at the details, 95% of that was just, AP stories that they weren't rewriting, they weren't
Oh,
touching, they were just republishing. And I was like,
that's
what's
not the
that?
content that's going to
Right.
drive your engagement with your local audience.
You clearly understood the publication speed, but not the better part of that sentence, right? It's not original. I mean, you could add different spin. You could take that story, rewrite it, for example, with draft, add your own take on top of it. There's so much you can do from there. I think at the end of the day, and from a sustainability perspective, this is not the entire solution, but I do strongly believe that what we've built is a significant piece of the answer to go.
Allison, I'm going to ask you a question. A lot of people, and I'm trying to keep my eyes on the demo, but I'm seeing you're on the chat. A lot of people are concerned that Somerville was not spelled correctly. Can you turn on your mic and how did you respond to that? What was the
Yeah, I was
challenge?
responding that and hoping to ask Tao about that later as well. So Somerville came out with the U, like a phonetic spelling. I responded in the chat that if this
Ooh,
was for
yes.
the newspaper, we would have trained that around this. This is the city name that would have come up in the tone building that we do for those 10. But what else would you comment on with that?
No, that's exactly it. It's an error. So with LLMs, I know there was a question about that, and if you want, we can switch to the question, Mike. With LLMs, the way LLMs are structured, they're probability models, they're not deterministic models. Hallucinations are not fully removable. Right? We can get to a very, very, very low amount, which is, as you heard me say before, is the case, but not fully removable. I think it was actually a human error when I was given the first copy. I probably didn't pay attention that there was an error. I should have regenerate and go from there.
Yeah, but more importantly, I loved your quote when we were doing our prep meeting. You said, and I hope I'm saying this correctly, sir, we call it draft for a reason.
Yeah, that's exactly
And
it.
why? Okay, I'm setting you up. I'm giving you straight line 101 here. Why does Nota call it draft for a reason, sir?
Because we expect humans to be able to add their savoir-faire, to be extremely French right now, their knowledge on whatever we give them. I think to me it would be extremely worrying if you had a copy which is 100% perfect.
You really want to have a human interaction, and that
I mean, for beyond, the typos, the
no,
errors,
you got to
and
have
maybe
an editor.
slides, just because the originality will come from the human.
On
And
my
that's what
show, on my vodcast, I'm going to have to send you a link to it. This is a year and a half ago, and I should have her back on my show. I gave ChatGPT a voice, a female voice from Siri's voice, and I interviewed her on my show and asked her the hard questions about AI's place in journalism. And I said, "Are you here to take our jobs?" And she basically said, "No, Mike, I'm here to eliminate the mundane tasks where you will be shifting more of the news ecosystem to being better editors and letting us just be able to help you get the stories in quicker." Do you see what I'm saying? It even admitted,
completely.
I want an editor. I'm not perfect. You see what I'm saying? But imagine the old days if you had to send a human being to that meeting and have them then file the story. How many city councils? Okay, first of all, I'm going to hit the audience now, hit you with questions that came during the registration process. We're getting near the end of our journey. However, the chat room is still wide open. Allison's in there, and want to let Allison, if you don't mind, Allison, get ready to seed questions you're got as well. Okay, because I'm just still down to top 3 or 4. Okay, here's one of my favorites from Craig from Sage. Increasing output and decreasing costs while retaining a publication's integrity. Trusted human voices are essential to communication. How do we integrate AI without losing our soul? And this is the battle that we have when my columnists, I always joke, I have 2 columnists now that highly respected in the industry. One keeps writing, if you're not using it, you're already dead. The other keeps writing, go slow, take it easy. Because one is a Pulitzer Prize winning, who's very concerned about taking away that human instinct. What do you say, sir, with all your years of working in as tech has grown to this quagmire, this question?
I mean, I fully agree with the piece of the question which is in the middle. Trusted human voices are essential to communication. I think that's critical. You heard me say throughout the presentation, right? What I strongly believe is the digital code, I call it. That's your originality. That's what you bring in. So my answer to that is one, define your soul, right? What makes you different? And that might be your tone, your voice, and use AI accordingly. AI is just a tool to accelerate what you're doing, not a tool to replace your soul, to reuse the wording, or replace what you're doing.
All right, Allison, what have you got from the chat room that maybe Tao could address? Is there one
There's
topic?
a theme that I'm seeing and a little bit in my DMs as well. That is, I want to be spending the time. I'm going to be doing my own interviews. I have a creative agency over this piece. I generally have to, after a draft is created, do some level of editorial to make sure that this looks and feels like what I want to publish. I think it might be important to refer to the power of the AI on the distribution side. Can you speak to your experience doing some analysis on headlines, SEO optimization, tags, metadata, those pieces that will get more eyeballs on that content at the end of the day?
Yeah, I made sure throughout the presentation I wanted to avoid the more corporate slides, of this is who we work on and blah blah blah. I can give you numbers though. So on the SEO side of things, our average performance when you use our SEO outputs, it's 3-digit growth on clicks. So said very simply, on average, our customers who use our SEO output see at least 100% growth on clicks coming from Google, whether that's search, Google News, or Discover.
So the takeaway on this is don't guess. No,
The takeaway on this is don't spend time on the optimizing for SEO, right? Let a machine do that part and focus on the source of your value, which is your original content.
I thought that a lot when I saw quite a few folks say I'm a one-person newsroom. I've got, you're talking about size and constraints, and I think this is there's an AI solution across the supply chain of basically creating what you need to. Where is the part that you want to dive deep, and where can you get some help? Is how I might see it. And I do want to touch back on one more thing, Mike, because it was a flurry right away when you said 15 articles, Tao. I think that got a lot of response. I've had a ton of it throughout.
Expected.
I know that's a benchmark,
Yeah.
but call it 15 or call it any other target. Can you touch on a little bit more? How can you define what is your 15 based on the capacity of your news organization? And then what does that 15, what does that say about monetization? Like, why are we thinking 15? What does that do for you with that cadence? And maybe it's speaking a little bit to the algorithm or how search, gives you more attention. Could you give us a little technical context on that number?
Yeah, of course. First, reference point, not a benchmark, right? Like if you go into the details, spitting out two amazing original stories is probably better than spitting out 15 republishing of press releases, right? Number two, if you look at how the web operates, whether that's through LLMs or search for that matter, freshness of content is an extremely important factor to surface, right? Like search engines today, without even AI or AI models, are always looking for something that's new, that's relevant, that's updated, right? Which is why there's this necessity to, for lack of a better expression, to keep on being part of the conversation, right? So there is a very, very tangible way of you need to publish content just to be able to be out there. But two, through time, that also establish your authority. Authority on any given topic is what allows LLMs, Google Search, and others to prioritize you in surfacing at the top of the search result or within an AI answer.
This is one of my favorites because it comes from a pretty damn smart person. And I hope Carla doesn't mind me bringing this out because Carla is from I mean, she's head of director of Masters in Engagement Journalism at the Newmark School. I'd like to hear the rationale behind more content being the best strategy for growth. I've often found fewer, better stories with stronger distribution plans perform best. You can't argue with that logic, sir. How do you
No.
address Carla's question?
I don't think I've had the pleasure to meet Carla, but far away from me the idea of arguing with Carla. I agree. I agree. Original content beats and trumps all. The problem is, yesterday you had the issue of your original content on that day, at that time, on that channel was facing maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 different stories, right? Which might be on a related topic. Today and tomorrow, that story is facing 100, 1,000, 2,000 other pieces of content, right? So again, I go back to that benchmark from the Google News Initiative. It's that benchmark, I even use the word, that reference point. Yes, better content is definitely the path. Do you have a path towards creating 100 amazing stories per day? I would imagine not if you're a one-person organization. Can you get to five? And then how do we get to seven and nine and 10?
Can I interject? And I know I'm not as smart as you guys. I am an old,
Please.
I mean, I was around when the internet, we were just trying to figure out, what an at sign meant. But when I took over the brand of E&P, this highly respected brand that, Pulitzer Prize winning journalists, refer to as the Bible. And I had to make a decision because I knew that we had to increase our cadence of content. I publish 2 newsletters a day. I call one exclusives. That is my enterprise journalism. Do you follow? I'm clear
Yeah.
about it. This is my op-eds. This is the stuff that comes directly from researched local, not local because we're, a global publication, but our journalism. Then I publish the daily headlines. That's where I insert my press releases. That's where I insert any curated content where we grabbed a release from someone. You see what I'm saying? We're very clear and we show the source. And remember, I'm emailing both of those puppies every day to 32 plus thousand people. My open rate on the noon is bigger on the daily headline because it's not a specific topic. If I do an operations story, that's an exclusive piece of content. I'm going to get an open by the nerds in operations. I may not get, see where I'm going? If I do one in editorial, one on sales, that's okay. But you see what I'm saying? I still put out 15 to 20 different pages of content a day. And that has increased my engagement levels. Is that a good answer or did I just screw that up,
I
sir?
mean, yes, but here's the counter, right? About 10 years ago, in one of the data tools we built, right, one of the top recommendations was focus on email, focus on newsletter. It's the best traffic source you can get. It's probably still true today. Focus on newsletter, the rest will follow. But here's my question to you, Mike. You're also focusing on newsletter because of the work it requires to be able to push all of that content that you have across other channels. And the fact is, I don't hang out with a lot of 20 years old, but last time I checked, I don't know a lot of 20 years olds who have an email address, right? So I think
You are so dead on.
so that's what I meant with there's this idea that we are omni-channel. But the fact is, we're not omni-channel. Most news organizations are search, a little bit of Facebook, Instagram if you have the resources, and newsletters when you've managed to automate it, right? So extremely far from being omni-channel.
Okay. Anything final from you, Allison, that was going on in the chat room we should bring up because we're down to our last minute or so?
No, this has been a great discussion. It's great to meet everybody. I've definitely got a few things that I'll follow up with folks in the audience. I think we'll be talking about this 15 on our social for some time. So if you could follow us on LinkedIn, I'd love to stay connected with all of you and more to come.
All right, so this
Thank
is
you so much,
Nota,
Mike.
heynota.com, HEYNOTA. Great email addresses here. You got Anntao Diaz at Heynota. You got Allison Burkholder at Heynota. You will get the answers to your questions. We support them. We use them, full disclosure. We want to not only thank our 2 really smart guests, I also want to thank everybody that took their valuable time and invested in this knowledge. Let us know how we did. And again, we also saw in the chat room, I need the recording of this. Please send me everyone will get a link who registered to the recording of this episode, hopefully before end of day. That's how we operate here. So everybody can see the content. Tao, thank you, sir. My new best friend from Boston. Allison from the Bay Area. Thank you so much. Everyone have a great day. Take care.
Thank you, Mike, and thanks everyone.